Greetings, comrades. This is Christopher Court from Socialists Without Borders, and I'm about to talk about encirclement. So what is encirclement? Encirclement names the emerging phase of U.S. imperial strategy under conditions of prolonged capitalist crises, declining profitability, ecological breakdown, and intensifying inter-imperialist rivalry. It does not describe a retreat from imperialism, nor a turn towards isolationism. It describes a reorganization of imperial power. The United States ruling class is adapting to the erosion of the post-war order by consolidating control over the Western Hemisphere while selectively withdrawing its role as the global guarantor of shipping and security. The objective is clear: reduce exposure to distant theaters, concentrate coercive force, secure land, labor, and resources within a defensible hemispheric perimeter. The earlier phase of U.S. dominance depended on global maritime control. That system is breaking down. Climate catastrophe has made oceans more volatile, and supply chains are fragile. Rival powers now contest U.S. naval supremacy through missiles, drones, and regional alliances. The cost of policing the entire world rises while the benefits decline. Encirclement is the response, not pacification, concentration. The United States abandons universal order and builds regional command. Naval power is redeployed. The Atlantic and Pacific approaches to the Americas, the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Arctic become zones of decisive control. Greenland becomes a forward base for Arctic surveillance and resource positioning. This is a restructuring of imperial geography. The hemisphere becomes a fortified economic and military zone. In this framework, the United States Navy is not neutral, as you'd expect. It is an instrument of class power. It does not simply protect trade, it controls it. It enforces sanctions against countries like Venezuela. It polices oil flows. It backs financial seizures and embargoes. This is interdiction. What is allowed to move and what is strangled. It is determined politically. This is not free trade. This is a managed circulation under imperial control. Encirclement is the modern form of the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine declared the Americas off limits to rival powers. In practice, it meant intervention. Mexico lost half its territory. Cuba and Puerto Rico were occupied. Central America saw repeated invasions. In the 20th century, it meant coups. Guatemala in 1954, Brazil in 1964, and Chile in 1973. Each time, the target was the same. Any movement that threatened capital. That's it. Any movement that threatened capital was met with force. Today, the system is more advanced. You're not occupied by troops. You are integrated through finance, trade, and debt. South America is assigned a role: extraction. Lithium from Bolivia, soy and beef from Brazil and Argentina, copper from Chile, oil from Venezuela. And this has consequences for your lives. It means wages are kept low and remain competitive in global markets. It means land is concentrated for export agriculture instead of local food production. It means your governments are pressured by institutions like the International Monetary Fund to cut public services. It means when crisis hits you, you pay through it through austerity. It means economies cannot develop independently. And when people migrate to survive, they are criminalized. This is how imperialism is lived. Venezuela shows encirclement in action. For years, it has faced sanctions that restricted oil exports, blocked access to credit, and froze assets abroad. These sanctions alone cost billions in lost revenue. Now the seizure of Nicolas Maduro represents escalation. This is a decapitation move. The goal is not simply political change, it is economic restructuring. And we've seen this before. In Chile, after 1973, public industries were privatized. In Iraq, after 2003, oil was opened to foreign capital. In Argentina, IMF programs imposed austerity and debt dependency. The pattern is very clear. Crisis is created or intensified. Then they use that very crisis to justify restructuring. In Venezuela, sections of the opposition bourgeoisie support this. They promise democracy but advocate privatization and foreign investment. At the same time, elements of the existing state may try to negotiate their position. In both cases, workers are excluded from this conversation. Encirclement is also being applied to Cuba. For decades, Cuba has been under blockade. That blockade recently intensified. Restrictions on fuel, finance, and trade have deepened. And now Cuba has experienced major power grid collapses. This is not accidental. When a country cannot import fuel, cannot access credit, cannot repair infrastructure, the systems will fail. This is economic warfare. The blackout is a message. It tells the region, this is what happens when you resist. At the same time, the United States escalates the war in Iran. This is part of the same strategy. Before consolidating the Americas, U.S. imperialism weakens rivals. It must. Iran is linked to China and Russia. Weakening Iran disrupts both of them. This is inter-imperialist conflict. Strike outward, then consolidate inward. That's encirclement. A revolutionary Marxist response rejects both imperialism and local capitalist control. We do not choose between elites. We build a working class power. Resistance must be international, working class, and proletarian. Workers can disrupt supply chains and energy flows and logistics. Sanctions are collective punishment. Anti-narco rhetoric is militarization. Democracy promotion is regime change. Migration must be defended as a product of imperialism. And the program is clear. Worker control, debt cancellation, international coordination, revolutionary organization. Encirclement can only be broken by the international working class's power. Not by states, not by elites, by the organization of the proletariat. Thank you very much.